My name is Kevin Otieno Omolo, born and raised in Mathare, and here I run a project known as Hope Compassion Center. Now, Hope Compassion Center is basically meant to deal with solving the problem of hunger first. Like we have the children come at the center and get to eat. Now the children eat, we also develop another avenue whereby they not only feed from the center, but they also get to get a bit of education. So that led to the whole center coming into a school center, or rather a learning center.
Hi everybody, my name is Collins Orono and this is Before 18. We are telling stories of children across the country and Africa, and we are about the transformation of children's lives. Today we are telling you this amazing story of Mr. Kevin Otieno from the Mathare Slums in Nairobi. He is a transformer and he has transformed hundreds of lives of children in this area. Karibu sana Bwana Kevo.
Asante sana.
Yes, so it's amazing. Yeah, hata hii handshake lazima tu. Hata kama kuna corona. Yeah. So it is just amazing that we had to come here to share the story of how you are transforming the lives of children in this area. First of all, let's start with I want to hear what is that amazing story, childhood story that you have that you can share with us today.
I was born in Mathare. And many times I hear people make introduction of I was born in Pumwani, I was born in a certain... Mine wasn't. I was not born in any hospital. I was born in a veranda in Mathare, not very far from here, because that's another system and another problem in Mathare, that our women don't get to get access to proper medical facilities, especially during the labor pain. So I am proud to say that I was born on a veranda somewhere in Mathare, and I grew up in the same place, did my primary education, did my my secondary education away from Mathare, because again that was another history being made. Like, not many people from Mathare used to go past class 8 again, just as I told you. And behind us you can see what is going on, that many of us used to end up at such a place, brewing changa and going in other immoral kind of characters that were probably within the slum region. High school, I was first called in a certain school called Mbale High School, whereby I went and started my school there, finished there. Then I went to Daystar University, which I also completed Daystar University, and from Daystar University we are now back here.
Ulisomea nini Daystar?
Daystar University I did two things. One, I did community development, and I also did a minor in communications.
You told me you were working somewhere. What happened? You just decided to quit and...
I remember as a reporter. Now, as a reporter, you know the things that make you comfortable and things that make you uncomfortable. I'm one person who really doesn't like walking to the office every time and coming back home, and so they will tell you I was there for nearly 3 months, but out of the 3 months they will tell you I only attended like 2 weeks. So they used to ask me, Kevin, where are you? I'm like, I don't feel comfortable coming. Until finally they realize I'm giving my resignation. I'm like, this is what I want to do, and I've been comfortable since doing this, and happy doing this. Growing up here was, one, it entails unity, because as we grew up together, we didn't know anything like tribalism. I used to play with Njoroge, I used to play with Motiso, I used to play with all this together, because one thing was common: we were all poor. So whenever poverty ravaged a certain region, no one remembers of anything like tribalism or anything. So it united us together, and this has actually perpetuated to this height that we are speaking of today. But again, another thing that actually transformed me is thinking bigger. You see, when we were growing up, going minus food was a norm of the day. But now you see, as you grow up, you begin to ask yourself, should this norm continue as it was? Like, is there a history that can actually be in a position to be changed? We have been going hungry all this time long, but has it come to a point whereby we can now come to a stop and a standstill to say that this must end? And I think that's where the Lord led us so far, that we now began all this that we are doing, that we refused to enable or probably to allow the ravaging hunger continue from other children. Like we said, if we were children who slept hungry many years ago, then the story must begin to change now. that we need people to come, and if they can't come, then we will be the people who will take the initiative to ensure that many more children have to eat, and that's why we started the program.
Now, when you are a child growing up in this area, what is that one thing that really motivated you to work hard every day? Because there are these factors that hinder you from maybe achieving your dreams. Kuna mambo kama kufukuzwa shule, kuna maybe unaenda shule hauna chakula ya kukula, nguo, shida, nini. Ni nini ikakumotivate ukaamua mazee nataka niende shule nifanye hivi na hivi na hivi ni achieve vitu zangu kwa maisha?
My motivation was as simple as this, like making a place I am better than I found it. Like for instance, we saw many people growing up ahead of us, and many of us who grew up here will tell you we lacked what we call role models. So I wanted to grow up to be a role model together with other brothers who could actually go to the heights and come back to Mathare and tell children, hey, you can actually also make it to the height and the point that we have also made it. So it is not a miracle for anyone to probably come out of Mathare, go to a university and come back to help and propel wherever possible. It is possible. Now that was the major agenda, that can things also begin to change? Can we now begin to make the mentality of individuals change from what it was formerly to a new perspective, whereby we know today a Mathare child can now go to the university, unlike it was in the past, whereby you coming from Mathare and the university was nothing going in the same line. It never appeared in the same sentence. But today as we speak, through the effort that we have actually laid with many others, coming back and telling people, hey, we came from Mathare and we are there, that definitely means you can also be in a position to probably be fished out from wherever you are and come to these pulpits and formats that can actually work to the best advantage.
Ni nini na kumotivate kwanza ukaamua, hey, I want to go and work with kids?
Now, the platform that you've just created, in our previous interview that we were at the center down there's one thing you say that really is what I think, that it has come to a point that children must also speak what they think. It's unlike the ancient time whereby we used to dictate everything for the child, and dictating including what they need to study, how they need to think, like it was me-centered and not the child-centered. But mine was, as you're saying it, I want a child to come out and tell us what they think. I want a child to come out and give me their ideas, and we are able to use the ideas. And I will tell you for a fact, everything you see me running, including this center you see us constructing here, this is an idea of a child. Because a child comes and thinks, and we are going to have everything that those children told me to do. They wanted a hall where they can have a theater, it's going to be here. They wanted a place where they can sleep, it's going to be here. And all these things. Now, why am I doing them? I'm doing all these things, not because Kevin thought to us that's a trajectory, but it's because out of speaking with a child, there's something they elicit from them, that unless we listen carefully and keenly, then we're going to miss a lot. And that covers everything. Right from the center feeding program and every other thing. And I told you the other time that we do something that is a little bit different from any center in Mathare. That when we were growing up, you remember, fruit to us was never what we call a dessert or whatever. According to us, fruit was food. But when these children tell me they need fruit away from the food they eat, you see that's an extra challenge they give to me. And if you go there today, they actually have the fruit. They eat their lunch, and then after lunch they get the fruits. So that means they are beginning to think in the child's way and in a manner they want to be treated.
Tell us a bit about the inspiration behind the center that you're talking about.
Well, it's actually the inspiration that started first before the center came, because there was a hungry child that we used to have, and this hungry child, you remember, 3.5 years old, I was giving sweets. It was actually based from a story a while ago.
What's the story?
The story is I was coming to Mathare, and as I come to Mathare, I usually carry sweets in my bag. So when I come to Mathare with these sweets, I give to the children. So at one point, there was a child who refused to take. So this child who refused to take prompted me to probably ask some questions that, if you cannot take a candy, then I have nothing extra to give, but what do you want in return? So the child said, if I can get porridge. So you see, that begins to make you think deeper. If a 3.5-year-old child tells you they need no sweet or candy, because according to me, even past 5 years, I will not go for porridge. I will rather have the candy than porridge. But this child insists and says, I want porridge. Now, I come to understand why the child wanted porridge, because when I went to their home, I found a mother lying on a floor on a very dusty feet and the perforated walls. Now, looking at the feet of the mother, this definitely symbolizes one thing, that the mother must have walked a long distance. And in this condition, the mother still had the flip-flops still worn. Now, one thing came to mind, that this mother one had to walk a long distance, but I don't know why she was lying there. So luckily, she heard my voice speaking to the daughter, because the daughter took me to their place. So when just next to my center, the house, I was greeting a certain lady. If you saw me greeting a lady there, that was a lady. Then she woke up tiredly, and she was like, Kevin, you've paid us a visit today. The truth is I didn't even know her. But she knew me so well.
How many years is that by the way?
That's 4 years down the line.
Like mwaka gani?
4 years down the line today, that was in 2017, 2018? Yes. Yes, that's when I met this, and I was like, in Kiswahili, mbona hujapikia Mary uji? Then the mother tiredly responds back. And the response from the mother actually made everyone I came with to fall into tears. Because the mother says, the last time I went to Isili and got something, Isili is just an area behind here. So that's where they go to do the casual job or manual job. So whenever they go there, the maximum amount one can get is actually at least 200 or below, but not more than that many times. So this lady comes and tells me that the last time she went to Isili and got something above 200 was 2 weeks ago. But according to her statement again, whenever she goes and works for this amount of money, she had formulated a trick, what I call a trick, but that was a formula and a way of working. So she buys paraffin worth 100 shillings. That's quite an amount of paraffin. So with this paraffin, she used to boil water. So boiling water to the boiling point, then calling the children around. But before she could call the children, she used to stir in salt. So according to the children, they were taking soup. But on this very day, when she tried boiling water, I think the paraffin was off and the stove went off and it could not like again. Now, this is the thing. When this was happening, the water hadn't boiled any bit. That means it was still cold. So the mother tells me she didn't want to probably stir in salt in it because the children could discover the trick behind it. So she says, after realizing this, she never wanted, because they were lined in front of her. So she never wanted to know what will happen. She just fell asleep down there and said, let it go as it will. So luckily, this is how I met this child. So that's how we started the porridge program, because this story was very painful. So I bought them everything they needed for the month. But you see, the question was still ravaging, like how many more children could be going through this? And this still takes us back to the very thing I told you, that we went through such, but it was not as worse as this, to a point that a mother has to boil water and stir in salt. I mean, that was another level. So this prompted me to ask myself many questions. Should we continue to have children going through this? Because I'm sure even the ones we give sweets, not that they are, you know what we call short span joy. You are simply happy because you have the sweet, but after taking it, then you realize again you're hungry. But at this point, there's nothing you can do. So the question is, not that everyone who has taken sweet is comfortable. They actually enjoyed what we call short span joy. But after the short span joy, what happens? And I will shock you. I started down there preparing porridge for just 30 kids. Now, the number that came was not even 30. My mind was 30. We had 80 children coming. So that means we had to go back to the kitchen, a place you saw us enter, and prepare for 30 more. For 50 more. That could make it 80. So what does that tell you? That indeed, even those who used to take sweets were actually hungry indeed. The thing is, they didn't have the voice enough to voice past the sweet. But there was one young little child who God used, I say God used her, to probably air past the sweet level. And today, you visited the center. From the porridge center, it's a whole center now running.
My name is Paul Adam Sokop. I'm a community organizer, a community mobilizer, and I'm a agenda officer. So right where we are is Mathare. And behind me, there's a structure that it's coming up. It's actually a facility of a modern daycare, which is being built by one Kevin Otieno Molo. So I was born as well and raised in Mathare. So Kevin is like a brother to me. He's a comrade. But I've known him as a visionary person, someone who wants good for his people. And that's why we are working together to see our community members are safe and they are okay.
One thing I love about Mathare is people feel for others. Like I know they don't have it, but if they had it, they will share. Like I'll give you an example. When I was growing up, if I miss food at my home and there's a neighbor having food, I mean, he or she was free to call me, because even us having it next day, we were also. So that's one thing I love about Mathare. And you remember what I talk about unity. So that's how they used to unify us. So when I started the porridge program, there are people who were willing, minus pay, by the way. No one asked me for money. I only began paying them later after we had gained ground and all that. But for one and a half year, no one asked me for money. The women constantly came. And even, by the way, to shock you, even the first cups we used to serve porridge were never given by us. We never bought them. It is the women from around that contributed the cups that could fill these kids.
Now, how many children do you guys serve?
Well, the number kept on increasing every day, and I will tell you for today, I mean, even as we talk of today, the number keeps increasing. But unless you regulate again, but again, you ask yourself, how do you regulate for a hungry child? You see, so sometimes I'll tell you for free, there are those that we don't have at the center that sometimes will miss the porridge and get the lunch. Some will get the lunch and miss the porridge. But the 300 we have, those are accounted for. They can actually be in a position to feed comfortably. But if we want to go with the number, because you will also realize you saw a community outside there. That community also come to school to eat. So in totality, if we talk of a proper and appropriate number of the total feeding, is actually running to 450. The first motivation of any child from our time, and I think even beyond, is there food in that school? And that's what the parents also look at. Is that school having what children can actually eat from? Then that was the first motivation. So the moment you go, you are captured with the academics, but in mind, at the back of your mind is, aside from learning, there's food. Yeah.
Unajua ikifika saa fulani. So
yes.
What is that one experience yenye watoto umaiona kwa watoto paka maybe ukacheka ama is there anything?
Yes. There's this time I was visited by my friends from America, and I didn't notice, but they did. Yeah. So they were saying they wanted to serve lunch, but as they wanted to serve lunch, the queue was long. So they went ahead and said, because I begin with prayers every time I visit the center. So they also said, let us pray. But they noticed there was a child who was not keen on prayers. He was keen on when are we going to serve. So as people were closing their eyes, he was snatching the line ahead of others just to be the first one.
Wow.
And then he was like, is this what they do? I'm like, I didn't notice that, but well, they do so many things even beyond that.
Hey.
Yeah, so that's a motivational point that came from them that they could see it. But now that tells you one thing, that a child, again, as much as you tell them the food is enough, they're so insecure that they will not stay from where they are.
So what is the age group of maybe the kids that you feed?
We begin from 2, and that's why we are building this center. Up here will be a daycare. That means it has come to a point that I don't want to mix the very young ones with the others. So the very young ones will be feeding from this center. So we are going to have them sleep here, feed here, and every other thing. So feeding here and sleeping here doesn't mean that they're going to spend the whole night here. They're only going to have their session like what we call daycare. If you go to these rich estates, you'll be in a position to realize that where parents can leave their children and taken care of. So that's going to happen in Mathare for the first time too. That those kids are going to have the upper decker where they're going to spend their time. They're going to have people taking care of them from here. So that's why I want to separate it from there. But aside from that, we have from 5 to the oldest child. I mean, the child with the highest number of age in my school or the center is actually 18. Yeah.
So Kevo, you started as a center.
Yes.
What motivated you now to convert it into, maybe to make it a little bit a school? What made you think like, let me make this like so that when they come, they can also learn?
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. Because whenever they used to take porridge, they went nowhere. They were just playing around. So it's actually the parents who came with the idea. So the parents came and told me, now that the children are here and they're constantly waiting for you with cups, why don't you get an activity that keeps them busy as they wait for porridge? Then I threw the ball back to them and I asked them, what activity can that be? Now, like, why don't we open somewhere where they can at least sing? According to them, it was they can sing as they wait for porridge. I'm like, singing, you can only sing too long. I mean, for so long. So after singing, what else? Then they went and thought through. After 1 week, they came, can we open a school? I'm like, I will not open a school. But luckily, I worked with some people who are also interested in education, because you see, mine was not actually education. If you ask me, and to date, is not. Mine is let that child eat, and they know even at the center. They'd rather miss that mathematics or whatever, but let them eat first.
What are some of the gaps that you feel like we need to fill as a country, as a community, to make sure that we protect children, we provide food to children, and make sure at least, food is a huge challenge for children, especially in Kenya, and especially in areas like Mathare. What is it that you feel like, this, what's the challenge, and what do you think we should do to make things better?
Well, not to blame the government, but again, you see, some things have to be spoken the straight way they're supposed to. I tested this during Corona period with few friends who actually helped me feed nearly a whole community, because I told you 1,000 in this area is too much. Taking that example and reflecting it to the government, then you realize it's either the government ignores that they're supposed to be feeding these people, or there's somebody stealing from those who are supposed to be fed. Because I can tell you, if one person, if just a me, by the grace of God, could feed over 1,000, then how much more can the government do? And over 1,000 was not for one day. It was for a period of 6 months. So how much more can a government do if a mere Kevin can do that? So see, it's a question of lapse. Like, is the government lapsing in a certain thing? Or because if the government wanted to do it, then they will. Because I say, I'm not even working with the government. I'm not even having a constant source of income where we can say I'm going to get. But assume as proper government with a proper structure that decides to deal with hunger completely. Because I will tell you for one thing, if we were able to provide food and water for all that period, then the government came later on through the county government to provide water. Then it means they can even do more. Because if they could provide water to the whole slum region, the answer then is, then you can also provide food to nearly everyone. The community can only learn one thing, that it is possible. It is us who can actually be in a position to lead the change. Because I want to assume if Kevin also decided to take a backseat role and be in a senatorial position and say, let it be, then it means many more children will still be going hungry today. It means such a center wouldn't be there today. But because I decided, by the grace of God and with people around me who also supported me towards the process, we have all this. So the thing is, the community people should also realize that they too can actually be in a position to make another wider difference, even aside from what Kevin is doing. Or the community can also come together and bring their mind together. Now that there's a center that people can settle and begin to think. So that from here, many more ideas will be generated so that the community can actually be in a position to be helped at long last.